Is a calorie a calorie? It's with this notion that a calorie is a calorie. Food industry says it's about calories. It's about energy balance. It's about calories in, calories out. Therefore, it's about two behaviors, gluttony and sloth. Therefore, because it's about two behaviors, if you're fat, it's your fault. Therefore, diet and exercise. Therefore, any calorie can be part of a balanced diet. Therefore, don't pick on our calories, go pick on somebody else's calories. All right? All of that comes from this notion that calories are fungible, that it doesn't matter what you eat, it matters how much you eat. That's basically what they say. And they say that that's personal responsibility. So what they've done in one fell swoop with one concept is put the onus on the victim and assuage their own culpability. Works for them. The question is it true? Is a calorie a calorie? And the answer is we have so much data to show that this is the biggest lie in the history of medicine. It is so wrong. It was wrong from the day it was conceived, and it will be wrong till the day we finally trash it. And the problem is the food industry won't give it up. And the reason they won't give it up is because it's their protection. It's their gravy train. They have convinced us all that it is true, and it is not true. It is the biggest lie there ever was. So, how can I prove it's a lie? All right, I'll prove it's a lie 4 ways. 4 different foodstuffs. Let's start with almonds. Drew, you like almonds?
Love them.
Love them. Almonds are great. Okay. But almonds are relatively high density, in terms of calories, aren't they?
They are.
So you eat 160 calories in almonds. Okay. Handful of almonds. 160 calories in almonds. How many of those calories do you absorb? Turns out the answer is 130. You ate 160, you absorbed 130. Where'd the other 30 go? The fiber in the almonds, and there are 2 kinds of fiber, and this becomes very important because remember I talked high sugar, low fiber, low sugar, high fiber, right? The fiber in the almonds, and there's 2 kinds, soluble and insoluble. So soluble fiber is like pectins and inulin, like what holds jelly together, hydrogels. Insoluble fiber is like cellulose, the stringy stuff in celery. Okay. Almonds have both. The stringy stuff sets up a lattice work on the inside of the duodenum, like a fishnet. And the soluble fiber are globular. They plug the holes in the fishnet. And together they form an impenetrable barrier. You can actually see it on electron microscopy, a whitish secondary barrier that inhibits the absorption of simple sugars, glucose, fructose, sucrose, simple starches, in the duodenum so that they do not go via the portal vein to reach the liver and then overwhelm the liver, so that the liver stays healthy. You are protecting the liver with the fiber in the almonds. So the liver doesn't get the excess, in which case then it would turn the excess into fat through this process called de novo lipogenesis, new fat making, which is what fructose does in particular. And you don't generate an insulin response because you didn't generate a serum glucose response. Okay, this all has to do with the concept of glycemic load to keep the insulin down. Okay, and that keeps you metabolically healthy because insulin's the bad guy in this story. Insulin drives chronic metabolic disease because insulin drives growth, abnormal growth. It drives vascular smooth muscle growth. That's why you get coronary artery disease. It drives prostate and breast growth. That's why you get breast and prostate cancer because of the insulin. Well, okay, so you didn't generate as big an insulin response because you didn't absorb those calories. So where'd those 30 calories go? They went further down the intestine to the next part called the jejunum. Okay, and the jejunum, that's where the bacteria are. That's where the microbiome is. So those bacteria, they want those 30 calories. And so they chew it up for their own purposes. So you have 10 trillion cells in your body. You have 100 trillion bacteria in your intestine. They outnumber you 10 to 1. You are just a big bag of bacteria with legs. Okay, those bacteria have to eat something to stay alive. Well, what do they eat? Well, they eat what you eat. The question is, how much did you get versus how much did they get? And when you consume those almonds, you consumed it with fiber, and that fiber meant that those 30 calories weren't for you. They were for your microbiome. So even though you ate them, even though they passed your lips, even though they registered as a calorie eaten, they were not a calorie absorbed. So who cares how many calories you ate? You care about how many calories you absorb. Well, is that measured in a calorie as a calorie? No. So a calorie is not a calorie because if it came with fiber, that calorie wasn't for you. Number 2, protein. Okay, so protein is made up of amino acids. And there are 20 amino acids, right? Some of them are essential amino acids. You have to consume them. Some of them your body can make from those essential amino acids. But there are 20 amino acids. Now, if you are building muscle, you need those amino acids because muscle is primarily protein, actin, myosin, etc. All right? So bodybuilders who are building muscle, they take scoops of protein powder and put it in their Vitamix to make their smoothies, right? Okay, and they're building muscle, and so they need those amino acids because they're essential. They have to consume them. But what if you're not a bodybuilder? What if you're a mere mortal like me? And what if you consume excess protein, excess amino acids? What if you ended up going to, the steakhouse and you ordered that porterhouse for 2 and you ate the whole thing yourself? Okay, now what? Where is the protein going to go? Is there a storehouse for protein? And the answer is, yeah, your muscle. But if you're not building muscle, then that's not your storehouse. So what happens to the excess? What happened to the other half of the porterhouse? Well, it went to the liver. The amino acids went to the liver. The liver has to turn it into energy. So the liver has to take the amino group off the amino acid, a deamination. Now, once that happens, that amino acid now becomes an organic acid. That organic acid can now enter the Krebs cycle, which is the cycle that makes the ATP. And so you can generate energy from that amino acid once it's deamidated. Turns out that process of deamination, taking that amino group off, costs energy. Okay, it costs energy, and it costs twice as much energy as what your liver has to do to prepare a carbohydrate for burning. So there's a net deficit for protein versus carbohydrate when you are turning it into ATP. So even though protein and carbohydrate are both 4 calories per gram, when you're burning protein, you actually generate fewer ATPs than when you're burning carbohydrate. Therefore, calorie is not a calorie because you started with the same number of calories in bomb calorimeter, but you ended up with different level numbers of ATPs. Number 3, fats. So over here on this side, we have omega-3 fatty acids. Heart healthy, anti-inflammatory, anti-Alzheimer's, save your life, anti-depression. Okay, single best thing you can put in your body, without question, omega-3s. Over here we have trans fats, the devil incarnate. Okay, consumable poison made in the lab. The reason that we put the trans fats in the food was because the bacteria couldn't break the trans double bond because it didn't have the enzyme, the desaturase, to do it. So the bacteria couldn't grow on it. That's why we had the 10-year-old Twinkie. All right. Point is, our mitochondria in our cells are refurbished bacteria. They even have their own bacterial DNA. Well, guess what? Our mitochondria can't break that bond either. So when you consume trans fats, you are basically laying down poison in your liver and in your arteries because you can't break it all the way down to carbon dioxide and ATP because of that trans double bond. So you do not want those trans double bonds in your diet, but the food industry put them there. Again, another reason why processed food is poison. All right. The point is, over here we got omega-3s. Over here we got trans fats. They're both 9 calories per gram. One will save your life, one will kill you. Because a calorie is not a calorie. Because different foodstuffs have different functions. And then lastly, my favorite, the one we started with, fructose and glucose. Glucose is the energy of life, and fructose is poison. It's a chronic dose-dependent mitochondrial toxin. They're both 4 calories per gram. So it's not how much you eat. It's specifically what your body does with what you eat that matters. And that just blows the whole concept of calories right out of the water. So we got to start with that. That's where the food industry got on, and that's where we have to get off. Problem is, food industry is still hitting it as hard as they possibly can because this is the concept that keeps them out of court. Because as soon as a calorie is not a calorie, guess what? They are going to get their asses sued off. And it's already started.